Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm super excited to have you all here with me today. We have a really great presentation planned, a ton of content to get through, and I can't wait to dive in. Thank you all again for hopping on. Give yourselves a pat on the back for showing up today for you and for your marketing and for your business. While we give folks a couple more minutes to join, I would love to make sure that all of our attendees are able to use the question box feature in GoToWebinar. So if you want to go ahead and type into that question box where you're calling in from today, please let me know. I'll call out some of the answers. I'll be able to see your responses. So I'll call out some of the folks that are calling in. One of the great things about these webinars is that they bring together people from all different corners of the world. So we're all here today to work on our marketing, and I would just love to see who's on this call today. You know, pop into that question box, say hi, let me know where you're calling from. For example, I'm based out of Boston, Massachusetts. I love it here. It's actually my favorite season coming up. Kind of an unpopular opinion I have. I love the winter time, so we're enjoying that. So we have some folks already coming in, a ton of responses. We have Jessica from Kansas, Terry from Rochester, New York. Hello. JD from Melbourne, Florida. Hey there, JD. Lindsay from Ohio. Jennifer from Charlotte, North Carolina. Phil from Sneads Ferry, North Carolina. Gretchen from Denver, Colorado, Karen from Dallas, Carmen from sunny Tampa, Florida, Carol from Stanley, Virginia, Wendy from Wichita Falls, Texas, Casey from Wisconsin, Tony from New Jersey, Carmen from Los Angeles. So many folks calling in. Randy from New York, Dwayne from Texas, Carla from Texas, Keith from Ohio, Charlie from Colorado, Sadie from Pennsylvania, Alyssa from Michigan. Tons and tons of responses coming in right now. And while GoToWebinar doesn't have a chat feature, so you won't be able to chat with other attendees on here, as you can see, I can see all of your responses coming into that question box, and that'll essentially be like your chat feature with me, your facilitator for today. So thank you for all for participating. I wish I could call out every single one of you. We have a ton of responses coming in from all different corners of North America, all different corners of the world, and it's just a really great way to kick things off, to just know that we're all here no matter where we're sitting, and we're showing up for our marketing. So with that, we're going to jump into a couple of the housekeeping items for today's presentation. So again, welcome. For everyone on this call, I want you to know that this webinar will be recorded, so you don't have to worry about taking notes or anything like that. You'll get all the materials in your inbox later today, and you can also find all of our webinar recordings easily on the Local IQ and WordStream YouTube channels. So if you missed this part of this webinar, or you're worried about this webinar being recorded, it will be recorded, and you can easily find it on YouTube as well. If you want to catch up on any of our past webinars, just type Local IQ or WordStream into the YouTube search bar. You can find our channel and find all of our webinar recordings there. Also, I already kind of alluded to this, but make sure you check your inbox later today for the materials. You'll get a copy of the presentation along with a copy of our wonderful marketing calendar, which we're going to walk through today. And again, you'll get a copy of the recording as well. And then be sure to submit your questions in that question box. That's why I had you all have the chance to type into that question box here. I'll be able to see your responses throughout the webinar. If you've attended any of our past webinars, you know we always host a Q&A session at the end. It's my favorite part. We have had some really in-depth Q&A sessions in the past. So be sure to submit your questions throughout and save some questions for the Q&A session at the end. I'll be able to read them off. It's a very unique experience to kind of have your questions answered and what feels like a one-on-one setting here. So again, be sure to be using that question box throughout the webinar. So for everyone on this call today, I know that some of us might be already working with Local IQ, and that's wonderful. Some of you might be already familiar with us over at Local IQ, and some of you might be totally new, and that's great too. And some of you might also be familiar with our sister brands WordStream and or our past sister brand Reach Local. So for everyone on this call today, I just want to get us on the same page as to who Local IQ is. So essentially, Local IQ is a fully integrated growth marketing platform that marries innovative technology and unparalleled expertise to give your business everything it needs to thrive and prosper in digital marketing. So how exactly do we do that? Well, technology is at our core. We have proprietary AI optimization technology that makes data-backed decisions for your business based off over 1 million Local IQ campaigns, and you can't really find that technology anywhere else. We're really proud of that. We also give you tools at your fingertips to make your marketing easier and more streamlined, and put time back into your day so you can focus on managing your business rather than worrying about your marketing. And we also have been in the marketing game for over 15 years, which if you think about how old digital marketing is, it's really not much older than that. So we've been through it all. We've seen all the different ups and downs of the landscape and how it has changed and evolved, and we're here to tell that story. One thing we're really, really proud of that I want everyone on this call to be aware of is that we are a premier partner with all the major advertising platforms. Now, this isn't just given out to any marketing platform out there. It's really only given to businesses that prove campaign success for customers, meet a rigorous set of requirements, showcase thought leadership and expertise within the digital marketing space, and again, make sure that we're always maintaining that growth and retention with our accounts. So that's something that we're really excited about and just wanted you all to be aware of. So a little bit about me, the person that's been talking to you for the past few minutes here. I am your webinar host and facilitator today. It's wonderful to meet you all. My name is Susie. I'm a senior content marketing specialist over at Local IQ, where I write educational content on everything under the digital marketing sun, from search engine optimization to pay-per-click search advertising to display ads to over-the-top video ads to everything and anything in between. I have written about it and participate in creating all that great content that you all can learn from on the Local IQ and WordStream blogs and websites. How I got into this position was I formerly was a digital marketing consultant over at WordStream, where I was coaching real life businesses similar to all the folks on this call through the day-to-day best practices on major platforms like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, and so on. So I took that real life experience and applied it to the educational content that I write today. As I mentioned, a fun fact about me is I'm based out of Boston, and I already alluded to this, but I'm super excited that it's finally the winter season. I love the cold weather. I know not a lot of people do, but I love it. I love to go snowboarding on the weekends when I'm not at work. I was just up in Maine this past weekend. Snowboarding was our first few runs of the season, so it's going to be a really great season. I'm excited for that. You can follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. I do share out any future webinar events that I think folks should be aware of, any platform updates or particular articles I'm really proud of that we work on here at Local IQ and WordStream. Another common question that I get asked a lot on these webinars is, where can you find out more about Local IQ and WordStream? Where can you find out more about the topics that we cover here? Be sure to follow us on social media. You can find Local IQ on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and WordStream on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. Be sure to give us a follow. We do post about any platform updates that advertisers should be aware of. We share out any reports or articles that we're particularly excited about. We also do update you all on future webinars if you want to join more of these in future. And also, I did shout out our websites on here because this hour is going to fly by. These webinars fly, and I know we cover very in-depth topics in a very short amount of time. So if you ever feel like you need more time to kind of sit and massage with any of the topics that we cover here today, be sure to head over to the WordStream and Local IQ blogs. If you go to our website, you can find our blogs easily on there, and we cover everything that we cover in these webinars in depth on our blogs. So definitely check those out. That way you can spend a little bit more time on anything you have more questions about. So a quick run through of what we're going to cover today. We're going to start off with some of the upcoming trends for marketing in 2024. We're also going to talk through a quick action plan and what you can do to be prepared for the first few months of 2024, as well as what to do for Q1, including the emphasis on diversity and inclusive marketing. And we'll also leave you with some thought starters to walk away with so that you feel like you have everything you need to start the year off right. So if you've attended any of our past webinars, you know I love to keep our listeners on their toes. I love to just warm you all up with a quick conversation starter here. Type into that question box and let me know, how would you describe your 2024 marketing planning so far? Do you feel like you're totally good to go? You got a head start on it. You already know exactly what you're doing. Do you feel like you're totally new to this and unsure where to start? That's okay too. Or maybe you're somewhere in between where you've thought about your marketing for 2024, haven't really framed out a full plan yet, but planning on it. You know, I just love for us to all take a pulse check of where we're at. This can help you think through what we'll be discussing today for your own unique instances. And I'll call out some of the answers here. So Laura, for example, she says it's in her head, but not on paper yet. Totally valid. We've been there. Patty says she's still working on it. Totally fine. Jessica says she's just getting started. Also great too. Charlie says that there's lots of new programs that they'll be working on. That's great. Laura says she's moderately prepared. I love that. Ryan says he's working on Q4, so already ahead of the game. Andy says getting first quarter all sorted out and then no idea after that. That's fine too. Allie says she has a plan and ready to go. Good for her. Eric says non-existent, totally fine. Some folks are saying some people in between. Yvette's saying she's working on it. Garrett says he's fairly confident. Tony says he's at ground zero for it. Monica says she's just starting. Totally fair, totally valid. So I wish I could call out every single one of these answers here, and thank you all for participating in that. But if you notice, all of the answers I called out were completely different, right? So just know that your specific and unique marketing situation is going to be different from the webinar attendee listening next to you, right? So as I go through our content today, always be thinking about how these general ideas, best practices, and tips can be applied to your unique and specific situation. And I'm going to try and make this webinar as accessible to all different levels. So if you feel like you're just starting or haven't even started yet, that's fine. If you've got it under control and you're ready to take the year head on, that's great too. I think that I'll be able to flex these concepts to make the most sense for everyone at any level, okay? So let's kick things off with some trends just to kind of set the scene, give us a general idea of what we can expect for marketing in 2024. This is going to kind of set the background and provide context into the ideas and tips that we're going to go through for the year and for the first quarter here. So I think none of this is a surprise to anyone that the first trend that we're going to touch on for 2024 in marketing is going to be AI, or artificial intelligence. We've been hearing about it all year across all the different marketing and advertising platforms. So AI is going to be everywhere in marketing in 2024. So if you feel like you're not yet comfortable with artificial intelligence tools, now is your time to start becoming familiar with it and getting more comfortable with it. However, don't rely too heavily on it, right? You want to find and strike that nice happy medium or balance between doing your own marketing work and also leveraging AI tools. So for example, you could use a tool like ChatGPT for ideation, you know, maybe creating an outline or giving you a starting point for marketing content. But then at the end of the day, you should really be the one to bring those marketing assets through to the finish line, making sure that your editing is solid, making sure that, you know, everything is aligned with your brand, which of course AI tools won't always be able to give your marketing assets that human touch, but they can absolutely be time savers. And not even just in content creation, right? But we're also seeing AI for, you know, performance optimization, any sort of like AI or smart powered campaigns across platforms, seeing a lot of that coming up, using that to help streamline your reporting and streamline your ad optimization. You know, just start evaluating in 2024 what your options will be, what's going to be the best fit for your business and your needs. So again, just making sure that you're using the right prompts if you are going to use it for ideation, you know, and it might take a little bit of trial and error. You might not be able to go into a tool like ChatGPT and say, you know, write this blog post for me. Sure, the first stab might be a start, but again, it might not always be to your brand standards or whatever it may be. So just keep that in mind, but also keep an open mind when it comes to AI. Also, as you all have probably heard, zero and first party data will be critical. So to give a quick background, and we have a ton of information on this because this topic really could be a whole webinar in and of itself. But essentially what I'm talking about here is zero and first party data is data that you hold as a company. So it's all the information that your business collects on its own. Third-party data is data that you might rely on from platforms like Google or Facebook to give you insights into audiences. So for example, if I were to go on and advertise on Google or Facebook today, and I wanted to just do some general behavioral targeting, that would be more reliant on third-party cookies because those platforms are following these potential buyers across the web. Obviously, your business doesn't have the ability to do that. And we are seeing the deprecation of third-party cookies happening in the second half of 2024. And I know that sounds scary, but you have plenty of time to prepare. We have a ton of resources, but basically it means you should not be continuing to rely on third-party cookie data. start making sure that you have a way to collect first-party data, implement that customer relationship or CRM system, making sure that you're building that email list, potentially asking your customers those questions through a survey so that you can build a larger audience over time, and creating those lead magnets, so again you have that list of audience members that you can target later in your advertisements. So again, I know that's a kind of just a high level overview of what you can expect between third-party and first-party cookies in 2024. Happy to answer more questions on that in the Q&A at the end of the session. We have a ton of information on it on our blog, as I mentioned, but just something for you all to be aware of. And also, we're going to see more and more new advertising and content formats coming into light, right? So for example, and I know every business owner feels different about it, and as a self-proclaimed millennial, I will be the first to admit that I'm not on TikTok yet, and I think it's just out of principle, but we've heard of TikTok, we've heard of short form videos, we're seeing YouTube shorts come up, and at the end of the day, if you're not comfortable with short form video and new formats of advertisements and digital ads, now is the time to start being more comfortable with that. We can no longer just rely on your standard search ads, although those are very efficient for your business. To round out your marketing for 2024, you really want to be leaning into all the different channels that you can be for the year. So that includes being more friendly with short form video. And you don't have to be a videographer, you don't have to be an influencer or a content creator. Just being able to put yourself out there, grab your phone, your Android or your iPhone, record a quick video, edit it really quick and put it up on some of those platforms and get yourself out there and refine over time is better than not doing anything at all and missing out on that audience entirely. So trying out those different types of digital formats that you might not necessarily be comfortable with, that's okay. Get out of your comfort zone in 2024 so that you can reach those audiences. Another example would be OTT or over-the-top streaming ads. So again, over-the-top meaning they're going beyond the cable box and just stream right through your audience's Wi-Fi. So thinking platforms like Hulu or any of those other, Peacock, any of those other streaming platforms, you can create video ads that are easily, streamed through those content platforms. YouTube as well is an example of just another video format that you should definitely be looking into and using. So if you're not super comfortable with video, a lot of platforms have become much more heavily reliant on video over the last few years. For example, Instagram is another great example, right? Instagram started as just an image-only platform, if we all remember, many years back, but now here we are. It's very reliant on Instagram Reels, which is another form of short form video. And the majority of what I see on Instagram now isn't just your standard photo, it's a video. So again, being more comfortable with those formats. And lastly, other examples of different digital formats like SMS texting or chatbots. In fact, over 40% of customers expect live chat on your website today. So finding those different ways that you can connect with your customers at every single possible touch point they could have with your business is going to be crucial for 2024. So those were some of the main general trends, just a couple of top 3 just to help guide you into your planning. So let's talk about your marketing action plan. We're going to go through some of the data and stats to back this up here. So you need a plan. You need to get ahead of your marketing because over 30%, there's a 30% increase in online content consumption in the last year. So if you haven't yet really taken the lead on your digital marketing for your business, now's the time to do so, because at the end of the day, your customers are definitely going to be online and looking for your business online. So we can no longer rely on just potentially, that in-person foot traffic, those print advertisements, and so on. Not that that isn't effective. That's always going to be a channel for your business if you have relied on that in the past. But again, now's the time to be more open to those other digital channels, because more often than not, your typical audience member is going to be on there, even if you feel like they haven't been in the past. Let's say I'm, typically targeting, maybe a little bit of an older audience that, might have used a couple of digital channels, but primarily contacted my business through other routes. They're probably also going to be on there too. So I would just do a little bit of audience segmentation, and really it sounds silly, but to just think in your head, picture your ideal customer. It's kind of like a funny exercise at first, but really think about it. What do they look like? Who is that person? What are they doing all day? What do they do for work? What kind of money do they make? Who do they hang out with? What are they doing in their free time? And this can all bring you to indicators that lead back to digital channels, whether I'm targeting, maybe an older female that, is a homeowner. She's probably on her iPad, trying to connect with, her family or whatever it may be. Or potentially I'm targeting someone who's very digitally savvy, maybe the typical business owner, maybe I'm a B2B business and I want to target decision makers. That can open up some different avenues as well. So for example, like for B2B, I love this, always saying the story, but like if I was targeting a B2B, I'm a B2B business targeting, your typical decision maker, they're probably at work all day. And I might think, okay, I need to, capitalize on this content that relates to their industry. Well, I think we can all admit that while we're at work all day, we're not necessarily consuming content all day that relates to work. That they're typically probably checking out the weather for their weekend plans. They're thinking about what they're going to cook for dinner tonight. Like we don't always think about what we're doing for work all day. So those other alternative channels could still be very valuable for a B2B business, for example. So those are just a couple of quick examples. So again, kind of think about that. Think about how your audience is consuming online content, because the odds are they absolutely are. Also, Google is going to be the name of the game in 2024. It's not going away anytime soon, whether we like it or not. I know we all have different feelings or opinions about Google, about these search platforms. They're always changing. We see varying results with our search engine optimization and search ads, but at the end of the day, we need to have it. Over 5.7 million searches happen on Google every minute. So every single minute, there is a very high chance that your potential customer is looking something up online and you want to be there, right? So whether that be through a marriage of your search engine optimization and your search ads to kind of cover your own butt and make sure you're showing regardless, that's a great example of how you can capitalize on that trend. Also for Facebook, that's going to continue to be a huge driver. So Facebook, Instagram, that family of apps, or Meta as we love to call it today. 2.1 million people are active on Facebook every minute. So again, if you feel like your typical customer isn't on Facebook or Instagram, this stat proves that odds are they very much probably are. So making sure that your business, again, is just on all these available touch points, all these potential channels online. So when you're thinking about how to start your planning, or if you want to adjust or pivot or improve your planning if you've already started, a couple of things that you can do. First, making sure that you're going month by month. This can just make it much more approachable, much more manageable, and can help hold yourself and your team accountable, right? So creating those monthly schedules, leveraging, a free marketing planning calendar resources, considering your seasonality here as well. So always thinking about like what's relevant to your audience at the time. So maybe my business doesn't necessarily relate to, like, for example, the 4th of July. I have nothing to do with that. I'm not a leisure or travel business, but at the end of the day, my audience is going to care about 4th of July, because even though my industry doesn't relate to that, my typical customer is going to be busy with 4th of July plans, for example, if I'm based in the US. So in that instance, then I might need to look at my July marketing plan, that monthly schedule, and say, all right, what am I going to do that's semi 4th of July related? Maybe I'll do a 4th of July social media post or something like that to stay relevant to the audience. The audience is going to care about that, and they're going to notice that your business cares about what they care about. So I think that's a huge part of it. Also, again, I had mentioned considering that seasonality. So keeping your search ads relevant throughout the year, and just your ads in general. So a couple of things here. You don't want to see your ads go out of season. You want to continuously be improving and optimizing them. So if I do a fall or winter themed ad, I don't want my audience to see that in the summer. That's not going to resonate. It's going to look outdated. It's going to be a bad look for my brand. So making sure that I'm staying on top of those ads throughout the year and optimizing them maybe on a quarterly or monthly basis is a huge part of being able to maintain growth throughout the year. Also with seasonality, thinking ahead to how your business performs throughout the year. And this might mean you need to look back at your historical data throughout the year, potentially, thinking about, all right, when do I typically see my most productive season? When do I typically see my slowest season? and planning for that accordingly, and making sure that maybe you're going a little bit harder on your search ads during those slow seasons to kind of balance out your performance throughout the whole year. So you kind of want to, while you're taking that monthly, pinpointed view into each month, stepping back and looking at that bird's eye view of, well, what is 2024 typically going to look like for me? What is it? What can I expect? What have I typically done in the past, and how can I keep that moving into 2024? And then also, I think this isn't a surprise to anyone on this call, but you're gonna wanna have some goals in mind as you're doing your 2024 planning. This can really just be your main big picture, big drivers for success, and making sure that you're able to get a clear understanding of how you're going to track that success. So something we talk about a lot in marketing is using the SMART exercise, SMART, which would stand for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, meaning that you want your goals to be very measurable, very specific. So for example, if I say I want to grow my Instagram following in 2024, well, that's not really a very specific or clear goal. But if I say I want to increase my Instagram following by 2024 by posting this much, this amount each week, I'm going to do these kinds of posts, I'm going to track it this many times a month, and I hope to get this many followers, 6 months in, this many followers by the end of the year. That's much more specific, and it can really give you kind of like a benchmark or a goal to kind of track yourself against and make sure that you're pacing towards that throughout the year. So let's kind of put that into practice with just a quick overview of what your Q1 marketing plan might look like. So we're going to just go month by month and kind of give you an example, and hopefully this will give you all some ideas for Q1 so that you're already set up for success in these next 3 months. But also you can apply these same concepts to the following quarters throughout the year. So let's start with January here. So a marketing must for January, for example, would be search engine optimization. Search engine optimization is kind of like in your long run, you're going to see results. It takes a little bit of time to gain that authority with your content, make sure that your site is also technically sound so that you're gaining all of that relevancy and performance stats that Google is going to be looking for when it's ranking your business. But search engine optimization is great to start in January or to improve on in January if you've already started it, because that can really pay off throughout the year. And again, it's probably going to be one that you're continuously going to build on and improve over time throughout the year. So definitely want to start things off on the right foot with search engine optimization. So that's one example. And then maybe you run a few promotions throughout the month that again are relevant to your customers. So for example, doing a 24% off sale, to play off the year 2024, your customers are probably all amped because the new year. So that's a great way to make like a relevant offer. And maybe you make some resolutions, and then that can build into like an email marketing newsletter where you share your resolutions. Or you could do a social media post, crowdsource some content by saying, hey, here are our resolutions, what are yours? Or potentially doing a blog post, again, to build out on that as search engine optimization. And also, again, you can play off some monthly themes. For example, January is National Blood Drive Month. Participating in those community events, just make sure that you're taking lots of photos and videos while you do those types of activities to post about on social media later. Also, again, I had mentioned this, but doing kind of a roundup, a blog, that can help build out your SEO as well. So those are just some ideas or how you might approach January. And then here's just another example of how you could do that, social media posts. And let's say, again, maybe you don't have the bandwidth or the team or the ability to join a blood drive for National Blood Donor Month, or, participate in one or host one. You could still, share stats like this posted here and post it on your social media, and that's your social content right there. I think the main theme that I'm kind of like hitting on a lot here throughout all these channels and all these different opportunities to market your business in 2024 is it's better to do something than nothing, right? The more you can get your business out there, the better, because the more likely your customers are going to see you and think of you and recognize you. And then when they are ready to become a customer, you're the first business at the top of their mind. And then some other holidays that we just, again, you can play off some of these fun holidays that maybe you wouldn't necessarily touch on. Again, it's okay if they don't relate directly to your business. You can get creative, maybe with an AI tool or something, to make them relate to your business. We also have, of course, one major national holiday if you are a US-based business for MLK Day. And then we also have a couple of other fun days here. But our free marketing calendar, which I saw a few questions coming in about marketing calendar resources, just so everyone on this call knows, they'll get a copy of our free marketing planning calendar in their inbox later today with the recording and the materials. So we do provide a free marketing calendar. You can go to our website right now and download it for free. So it is available, and we do have that on our blog as well as social media holidays, which I just published in yesterday, of over 500 social media holidays throughout the year. So check that out on the Local IQ blog. Definitely going through 500 social media holidays was a lot, and I'm happy to do it so that everyone finds at least a few days a month that they can capitalize on with their marketing. So moving on to the next month here, we have February for 2024. Example marketing must is search advertising. Search advertising is like a faucet, right? You can turn that on, put some budget behind it, and you'll see results pretty quick. Ideally, right, whenever you make a change or you start publishing search ads, you want to give it minimum 14 days, ideally 30 days to really start seeing results. So it's fast, it's not that fast, but it's as fast as you can probably get with digital marketing. So that's why search advertising is great for this month. So let's say you ramp up your SEO in January and you're probably going to start ranking. You might see it, slowly start to improve. Then you can really hit it hard with your search advertising to complement that, right? So the real thing you want to be doing in 2024 is, again, having that cross-channel approach to, again, like I said, not only cover your butt if, your potential customer is looking for your business, and if one ad doesn't show, another ranking or another example of your marketing might pop up instead. So this is a great example of that. Think about the gaps that your current channels have and what other channels could fill those gaps. So search advertising is a great example of how that can fill the gap that your search engine optimization might end up having, and that's okay. No channel is going to be like 100% successful. No channel is going to be perfect all the time. There's always going to be room for improvement, and that's okay. If it was that way, we wouldn't all be here, right? We're always constantly looking for ways to improve our marketing, and that's fine. So thinking about that and having that open mind to incorporate search ads, in February is a great example of that. Again, we have another big national holiday if you are a US-based business for Valentine's Day in February. Also, of course, February is Black History Month. Definitely want to be hitting on that as well. And again, there's a couple other monthly awarenesses that you could definitely hit on. So just thinking about that holistic marketing strategy and how you can hit on those themes throughout the month. So you don't always have to go back to like the typical marketing and advertisements that you've done ever since you started your business. Thinking about, you can use those, but just give a fun little seasonal twist to them. It's going to make all the difference here. And here's an example of that, of just like an email campaign that you could get for February. You also might want to hit on Super Bowl Sunday, which is a big one, February 11th this year. And another one that I'm sure your customers will eat up is National Love Your Pets Day. We all have pets, we all love them. So that's definitely going to be a crowd pleaser for your business as well. And then lastly, in Q1, we'll look at March. So with March, you might at this point in the year, right, you're a couple months in. So you've started advertising, you've started your marketing, and now you're probably collecting some data here. You're probably collecting some first-party data that you could potentially retarget or remarket to customers, which means you're hitting the same audience that once interacted with your business again. So retargeting would be a great example of something you could do in March once you started to collect that January and February data. And again, making sure that your business is top of mind to those already interested customers. So of course, the major holiday for US-based businesses in March is St. Patrick's Day. We also have Women's History Month in March, and you could also, we have Employee Appreciation Day in March, which I think every business on here could definitely hit on. So again, thinking about how you can incorporate those types of themes into all your different channels, whether you are retargeting, on search ads or your display ads, or maybe you're hitting an email list and doing an email campaign, or whatever it may be in between. Those are just a few examples here. Some other holidays in March is, of course, Pi Day, which we know the number pi, 3.14, so you can play around with that. And International Happiness Day. And what do we all love to do? We love to be happy. And what do your customers love to do? They love to be happy. And what can your business do for your customers? Make them happy. So you can do that with your marketing this month in March with some of these examples, some of these seasonal blasts. So again, this is just an example of a blog post that you could do that's kind of like a theme around March. So again, thinking about all those different channels and making sure that you're kind of connecting them all too is going to be really key. While you want that multi-channel approach, you want to make sure that your marketing is cohesive throughout. The last thing you want is for your customer to come across a piece of marketing and not recognize that it's from you. So if I'm going to talk about International Happiness Day on my social media, I better be also talking about it in my emails or in my search campaigns or whatever it may be, if that's going to be my promotion. So also you want to make sure that you're hitting on diversity and inclusion in 2024. That is not going away. That's going to be an even more important theme in these coming years, especially in 2024. In fact, most people are more likely to trust your business if you are embracing diversity and inclusion in your marketing. And there's tons of different monthly awarenesses, holidays, and so on that you can hit on that will make all of your customers, no matter what shape, size, background they may have, feel included with your business and really build that brand and business community. It's huge. It's going to add a dose of humanity to your marketing as well. So again, you don't have to hit on all of them. You can hit on the ones that mean most to you. Just make sure you're hitting on at least, I would say, at least once per month or so on. This is an example of all of the diversity, equity, and inclusion holidays throughout the year. There actually are a lot more of that, so definitely check out our blog as well with the social media holidays. We touch on all of those there in our marketing calendar. And again, I know this is a lot of information on one slide. I don't expect anyone to get through that right now. Remember that you will get a copy of this presentation in your inbox later today, and you can easily find the recording on our YouTube channel. So hop in, check out the recording later. You can pause it here, or you can check out the copy of the slides and just sit on this one for a minute, make a copy, save it, and then refer to it throughout the year so that you know which holidays that you need to hit to make sure that you're hitting that diversity, equity, and inclusion requirement. So I know that was a ton of information, and we flew through it. It's a lot, and if you feel like that's a ton and you need to take more time with it, that's okay. I've been in the marketing game a long time, and even for me, this was a lot to take in as I was learning as well and continuing to learn. So I'll leave you all with a few thought starters that can help you know what to do as you approach your planning into 2024 or continue to improve your planning. So let's kind of talk about that. What's kind of the main takeaways that you need to walk away with from this content? And if you need more time with it, that's okay. Again, you can go back into it later. So how can you dominate search, social, all those different channels that I mentioned in 2024? So the first thing we covered was the trends, right? So just be thinking about, okay, what am I doing now? What can I improve? What are my competitors doing? What am I not doing that I should be doing in 2024, right? I think a lot of us can get stuck in these typical marketing channels. And I found this a lot when I was working with businesses for a long time too, is, you might end up finding that you have like one or two tried and true channels. And those are your channels, they're ride or die, and they're always, hitting the metrics that you need for your business. But there's so much more out there that you can potentially try. So don't let yourself get in that rut of staying with those channels and not keeping up with the trends of your evolving audience, right? Your audience is growing, their interests are changing based on all of these things. So be thinking about, as you're thinking about your marketing, thinking about those trends. And if you feel like that tried and true channel that you've always hit isn't hitting the same way anymore, that's okay. That's going to be normal because the landscape is constantly evolving and changing. So don't be married to one set approach. Be able to be flexible and change and evolve based on marketing trends. So thinking about some of those trends that we talked about and how you can incorporate into your marketing will really make all the difference here. Also, of course, making sure that you're planning ahead. So some of you had mentioned that you haven't even started yet. Some of you had mentioned that you're maybe halfway through or just getting started. That's okay. It's not too late, right? We're still in 2023. You can start planning ahead now, but just getting ahead of it. And even if you're only, have the bandwidth to start planning for Q1, that was just an example of how you could quickly plan for Q1, for a couple of months at a time. And if you need to go ahead a couple of months at a time, that's okay too. As long as you walk in with a game plan and know what you're doing ahead of time, it's just going to make your marketing much more cohesive, right? Because you already know what you're going to be promoting across all your channels. It's going to make it easier to execute because you already have concepts ironed out. And then you can kind of just put it on cruise control from there, potentially even schedule it out. So that way it can just run, set it, and forget it. But don't forget it, you want to track it later, right? But same concept. So that's what I want us all to kind of take away from that. And again, try new things, have an open mind. There's so much technology available to us all now that can help making a cross-channel approach much easier. For example, local IQ's cross-media optimization technology actively manages and seamlessly balances your budget across different marketing channels that you are able to advertise on more than one channel seamlessly without having to worry about management of a ton of channels, because I know we're all busy. We don't have a ton of time to be managing this holistic marketing strategy. So think about ways that you can do that still while saving yourself time. And I think the main thing too, and if you've attended any of our past webinars, I always say this, if there's one thing that you all walk away with today, is always, always, always have a backup plan, right? Think ahead as you're doing this marketing planning. All right, I'm going to put out this campaign. If this campaign does great, what does that look like for me? What does success look like? And if I hit that success, if I make that campaign, so great that it's crushing it, what am I going to do next? Am I going to ramp it up? Am I going to let it cruise? Like, what could that look like after? And if it doesn't, play out the way I hope it does, if it doesn't bring me the results that I want, that's okay too. What am I going to do to pivot? What's going to be my backup plan? So making sure that you have those channels, you have those additional channels, additional campaigns in your back pocket to pull out depending on your performance throughout the year is really going to make you prepared and make sure that you're always hitting your goals throughout the year, regardless of what channel it's coming from. So with that being said, I know that was a ton of information. Like I mentioned, if you have more questions, and I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in about specific situations, specific businesses, specific marketing situations within your business. If you have more questions like that, definitely hit yes on that poll that just took over your screen. You'll be able to get your questions answered in a one-on-one setting with an expert, which is a really unique experience at a time of your choosing if you hit yes on that poll. So I recommend, if you have more questions, need more advice, want a little bit more assistance with your planning, definitely hit yes there. We're going to let that poll hang out and take over the screen for the remainder of the webinar while we switch into the Q&A portion. So it's more like an audio portion while that poll hangs out at the front, all over your screen. So you can just sit back and listen into the Q&A. As we move into the Q&A here, if you have more questions, type them into the question box now, and I'm going to start picking out some to answer for you all. And let me just say, there are a ton of questions coming in here, so I'll try and answer as many as I can, and thank you all for putting in your questions here. So let's see. Tons and tons of questions coming in, and if you haven't submitted your questions for this Q&A session right now, be sure to. Leona asked a good question here. We'll kick things off with this. What are common KPIs or key performance indicators or metrics that are tracked when marketing? So a lot of these answers in the Q&A session, you'll probably find that, it's not always a black and white or yes or no answer. So of course, my first question when you're asking what you should track with your marketing in 2024 is it's going to heavily depend on your business, right? It's going to depend on your needs. It's going to depend on your channels. But a few kind of overarching themes that I would look at is, of course, your growth. How much traffic you're getting to your website is a big one throughout all these digital marketing metrics, whether that be website visitors or clicks is a big one. Potentially, revenue, your cost per lead or cost per acquisition here for a lot of channels, how much it's costing you to actually get a customer in is very popular. Your conversion rate, how frequently interested customers actually take action with your business. So those are just a few, but definitely be thinking about your measurement and what success is going to look like for you. That's a great question. Let's see here. Many more questions coming in here. Haley asks, I'm a one-man marketing team here for a startup healthcare company. Do you have any advice? So again, some of those like more specific questions are definitely more fitted for the poll here, but I will answer this because I think a lot of us are on limited, small, potentially one-man marketing teams. If you are on a team like that, where maybe it's just you doing all the marketing for your business, that is okay. A lot of the concepts that I conveyed here can be done by a one-person team. The main important factor that you need to do if you are in that type of situation is to be thinking about the tools that can help you save time, right? So thinking about, okay, what social media tool can I use that I can schedule out my posts ahead of time so that those just run on cruise control? Or what AI tools could I have that can create a lot of the content for me so that I can just go through and edit and publish? So types of tools like that can really be helpful for a one person or small limited resources marketing team. Dwayne asked, I keep hearing SEO or search engine optimization is a thing of the past. Is it still relevant in 2024? Well, I know I talked about it a lot in this webinar, but based on that stat where you saw there's multi-million searches coming from Google, just Google alone, never mind other search engines like Microsoft Search and so on, are happening every minute. Search engine optimization is not going anywhere. And I know that we have, a lot of fear with the way that the search platform is changing, where they're forcing in these AI optimized results and so on. That's all the more reason you need to be hitting your search engine optimization. Everyone that has a website should be focusing on how their website is going to rank in search results. It's not a thing of the past. It's a very clear indicator of how people can find you. And the main reason why search engine optimization is so important is it's free, right? It's one of the few digital marketing channels that you can work on and see results, and it won't really cost you anything. I mean, of course, there is going to be some cost involved with, creating that content. Potentially you need to hire, someone for that, for example, sure. But to actually get your results on the search engine results page through SEO, it's free. Those clicks from your search engine, from your SEO results are free. So having those free clicks are always going to be good for your business. The more that you can gain from your SEO, the better, because then that can kind of offset some of those costs that you might be seeing from your search or social ads. It also can help complement your strategy and, again, kind of give that holistic, seamless experience to your customers. So it's really important that you still hit on search engine optimization in 2024, but great questions there. Great questions. More questions coming in here. Carmen asks, what are other trends like lead forms for advertisements or for getting more customers to the website, or to in general when you're running ads? For sure. Great question, Carmen. You don't just have to rely on lead forms if you're a lead-based business. If you're an e-com business in a primarily like sales-based, of course, lead forms aren't going to be your end-all be-all, but let's say you want to use lead forms to collect information to create some first-party data. Lead forms are one route, but there's a few other ways that you could do it, potentially through call lines. You could also do surveys like we did an example of. The chat bots as well can be a really great way to collect leads. So definitely be thinking about those alternative routes as well. Lead forms is usually the most typical example, but it doesn't have to be it. Um, Brian asked, what's the best way to attract B2B customers? We use social media and email marketing, but is there another channel that works for that customer type? Again, a very specific question that's kind of specific to Brian's business here. So again, if you have questions like that, that's what this poll is up for, but I will touch on the B2B audience as well. I did mention this a little bit earlier, but really thinking outside of the box for your B2B audience is key. You know, like I mentioned, sure, we're trying to target your typical decision maker at a business, but they're not going to be thinking about, you know, your whatever solution you might offer all day. They're going to be thinking about, you know, how can I get through this work day? What am I doing at home? What am I doing on the weekends and, you know, through the weather and so on. So thinking about those alternative channels, I think are really important. So I would use social media continuously, like you said, and email marketing as well is huge. But I also think search ads, and SEO have been very successful for the B2B businesses I've worked for. So I would recommend that as well. Michael asked a good question here. He's trying to bring in leads for service-based businesses. What diversity, equity, and inclusion concerns does he need to look at? So for service-based businesses, leads are obviously the name of the game. Great question here. So for these service-based businesses, you need to get more leads, but you want to be mindful of the types of leads you're bringing in. You don't want to exclude any particular type of audience. So I honestly would start with the diversity, equity, and inclusion holidays that I touched on in this call today. I would start there because I feel like that seeing those can help open up all the potential different types of audiences that you might be dealing with and help you think of ones that you haven't necessarily thought of. I also would consider when you're going to be pushing out your advertisements and your potential lead forms. So, you know, you might opt to not necessarily ask for leads or lead forms during a sensitive holiday, for example. You might opt to not advertise that day, or you might opt to hold off on your social posts, your organic posts for that day, just to be mindful and sensitive of those audiences. Great question there. Great questions coming in here. I'll try to answer one or two more. I know we're getting short on time. I wish I could answer all of your questions. Let's see. So someone asked, I see that you've talked a lot about a cross-channel marketing approach. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to do multiple channels. What channel would you say is the most important? Great question. I love answering this one. And this is another one that's going to kind of feel like, okay, there is no black and white answer. And it's true. The channels that are going to be best for your business are going to look totally different from the channels that are best for the business next to you, right? So it's going to come down to your specific needs and goals. So if you want to get more leads, right, and your lead forms are on your site, then that means that you need to be driving website traffic to start. So if you know you need more website visitors, then you probably need to focus on channels that are going to drive the most clicks. Now that might feel counterintuitive because you're saying, okay, well, my goal is leads. Why would I care about driving clicks? Because that's half the battle to getting leads. So thinking about all the ways that you can maximize that through different channels is really important. There is no one end all be all channel. And I know everyone always asks that because we want an easy route, right? We wish, and I wish too, that it was easy enough that you could just find one channel and have it be great for your business and stick with it. But that's not the reality. So you need to embrace as many channels as possible, would honestly really be my recommendation, because even if you do a little bit on each channel, it's better than putting all your eggs in one basket and not doing any other channels and then not seeing the results that you want, right? So I'd say look at your goals, look at your typical audience member, your typical ideal customer, and really think about, okay, well, and start ranking them. Maybe you pick your top 3, and then maybe you pick, you know, 3 more subsidiary channels, and kind of make almost like a tree from there to see what channels you need to prioritize and definitely be on, what channels you can squeeze in a little bit with your bandwidth, and what channels you might want to try down the line. That would really be my suggestion. We have a full list of marketing channels on both our websites that you can easily find. I definitely would recommend checking that out. There's like 20+ channels that you could be on right now. So definitely really evaluate all your options and keep an open mind there. So with that said, there are a ton more questions coming in, but I know we're getting close to time here. As you could probably tell, I could talk about this all day. So I wish I could answer all of your questions, but if you didn't get your question answered, that's why this poll is up now. But thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate the participation. Again, give yourselves a pat on the back for showing up today. Great presentation, great participation. Thank you all. I hope this was helpful. I hope you all have a wonderful day and happy holidays. Thanks, everyone.